Jonathan Jacobs here behind the build, and today's guest we have Justin Sherry from Justin Sherry Studios with us. Justin is a young architectural designer who has been in the business now for about a decade or more. And we've come to know each other over the last 2 years. His practice has evolved and grown substantially. He runs out of Barrie, Ontario. And his projects range from small little projects to residential new builds, renovations, and some commercial work. So thank you, Justin, for joining me today.
Thank you, sir. Pleasure to be here.
Well, I appreciate it. So I figured I always like to start off in getting to know people because the people are what make the practice. So first question is I'd like to ask is, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Brampton, Ontario. I was there until I was 22. Actually studied at Sheridan Architecture Program in Brampton.
Yep.
So stayed at home, did my studies, and then right after moved to Toronto. And then from there, about 3 years, and then up to Barrie, Ontario.
So what year did you move to Barrie?
2017.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And family?
Everybody was in Brampton as well, in Toronto, that area. There's still a lot in Toronto, but since I moved up, everybody started visiting me, and then they ended up loving it. So my entire immediate family's there.
Oh, really?
Uncles who moved up. Yeah. Obviously monetized on the situation through COVID too, and sold their house here, made their millions, and then go up north.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Okay. And yourself, are you married?
Married,
kids?
Yes. 3 kids.
Yeah.
I got 2 girls and a boy.
Okay.
8, 7, and 5, which is pretty crazy.
Amazing. Okay. Yeah. And how they all, I guess the 8-year-old was not born in Barrie.
No. Oh, yes. Yes.
She was
born in Barrie. Yeah.
Okay. So
it's a different situation. So we're blended. Okay. My wife has one.
Got it.
I had one.
Got it.
And then together we have one.
Got it.
So she had her firstborn at 8 years old in Barrie because she lived there.
Yeah.
I had mine here, and then we met and then had our son together.
Right. Okay. Amazing.
Yeah.
And your practice, I mean, I know that your practice has been running for a little while now. I'm curious, we'll get to your practice, but you came out of Sheridan. What did you do when you left school? Where did you work?
I immediately did my studies and got my BCIN.
Yep.
So did that immediately. Got my stamp. From there, I was working for Van Bethlehem Architecture. They were based out of Oakville.
Okay.
They did more commercial work. And then I was leaning towards obviously more residential. I didn't see any future there. And I was ambitious too. Like I knew this was going to happen as soon as it was out.
Yeah.
I was going to do my own thing. So then I formulated a proposal to my former professor at school. And I said, look, we can partner, because he had his own practice, but it was like a bedroom practice. And I said, we could do something big, or I'm going to be your competition. And he decided, let's team up. So from there, we did that until 2020.
And what was the name of the practice?
Hughes Design Studio.
Okay.
Yeah. And it still operates as Hughes Design Studio.
Okay.
Yeah.
I did not know this.
Yeah. Yeah. And I did my own thing, because honestly too, it was just the location. So we had our offices here. It was in Mississauga at the time. And then we decided, you know what, like, because I'm up there, he's here. There are differences as well, but that's kind of how it happened.
And you knew that when you were working at the first practice that your keen interest was to get into residential, or?
Well, having my own business too.
Like your own business. That was the goal.
Yeah,
okay.
100%. I'm a little bit too controlling, and it's an ego problem, I think, with most of us. Right.
Yeah. I mean, I yes and no. I think when you're looking at creativity, right, you want to be able to have self-control over the creativity. I don't know as much as an ego as it is to be able to
freedom.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Right. I think you want to be uninhibited, and you don't want to hear other people's opinions. I don't know that I would call that ego. Oh, maybe that is ego. I don't know.
I don't want to hear your opinion, but I do best.
Fair. Okay. Fair. And when you left the first practice and you started with Hughes, what types of projects were you looking at that time?
I had custom luxury homes.
Okay.
Yeah. We did a lot of North Brampton stuff too, like the mansions in the Gore area, Caledon. That was kind of our primary focus. And then Mississauga, we did Lauren Park, Port Credit area. That was heavily focused there. So always been residential, custom construction. Yeah.
And how many people were working at the practice when you started your partnership?
It was just the two of us.
Yeah.
It was still the bedroom. So I would go to his house, work out of the office, similar size room to this, 2 desks opposite each other.
By the way, this room is huge.
Yeah.
This is like 100 by 100.
Yeah. So we just yell at each other from across the room. No, but it was fun. I liked those times. It was less responsibility, you know, it was a little less formal.
As you're saying that yell across the room, I'm just thinking of the Batman original movie with Michael Keaton when when they're having the dining room. Can you pass the salt?
Yeah. Seriously. No, not like that. Unfortunately, it was like back to back.
Right.
But it was fun.
Okay, so then you decide that you're going to leave there. You're going to want to go out on your own. You want to go start your own practice. And what does that look like for you? You know, you're venturing out on your own for, I guess, what is really the first time.
Yeah, it really was. And it was during COVID too. So it was pretty scary. But I had the confidence, you know, with all the clients I did have, and it's like referral based, right? And I become naturally friends with all my clients. So I just kept getting work from them and it just grew. So you knew you could handle it on your own.
Right.
But it's still scary making that leap without any judgment from someone else or helping you if you're away type thing. So
what did that look like? You left and you were able to, you split clients up when you're
in a
disbanded?
partnership, I would say it's just naturally, I got my clients, you got yours.
Yeah.
We have this formulated together.
Yep.
Share the expenses, that type of thing, and the people within the office. So I would say it was pretty easy as like a cutoff.
Okay.
These are my guys. And I'm so easygoing. Like if someone decided to fight me, I'd say, go for it. Like you've done it once, you build it again. Yeah. I think.
And so when you left, how many clients were you able to retain and continue to work on your own?
I'd say it was hard to put a number on it.
Okay.
But there were jobs that were already being done during the time of that transition. So like they didn't care whether or not it was the name. They wanted me still. So
right.
I'd say, I don't know, you take away with like 40 clients at a time.
And did you set your goals for what you were trying to achieve for the practice early on with like I would say in terms of both a growth scale, but also, and I say growth scale, it's twofold, I guess. One would be growth scale in terms of number of projects that you were going to try to achieve over a certain period of time, but then also staffing scale to be able to manage that. Like, what did that look like early on for you?
At the time, it was more about maintaining. So it wasn't like in growth mode. I wasn't thinking about that because it was literally March 2020. And I think that's when
March 13th or March 14th is when the world shut down.
But during that time, it was pretty scary. So I wasn't even thinking about let's grow this business. It was more like, oh no, I got to now pick up the pace and figure this out while this is all happening.
Right.
Until like 2021 when everything started going crazy naturally. And then that's when I was like, let's pick this up. And that's when I went on that hiring spree during that time.
So between 2020 and 2021, you were on your own.
I had staff. So I took
you
staff.
did? Okay.
So there was a split in staff. I was already up in Barrie at the time.
Okay.
And then someone was working for me there while I had 4 people in the city with my former partner. And then, so I just took mine and then she stayed with me. And then we were doing the whole bedroom thing all over again. Yeah. In my house.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then it happened so fast. I hired someone else within the first 6 months. And then COVID hit, like during that period, 2021, when it started going crazy. That's when I hired like 4 more people at that time. And then it grew to 8.
Okay. So you had a staff of 8 within 2 years.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is scary, seeing the payroll every month.
Yeah. I was going to say, like you go from like a solo operation with one other person and you're not having to worry about multiple people that are having to put money, having to put food on the table for their families.
Yeah. You stop thinking about yourself after that point.
Right.
It's more about maintaining those people in their lives. You don't want to get, like the last thing you want to do is get rid of someone.
Right. So then what did that look like? You know, you get into this situation where now you've got 8 staff and that includes you or you're 9?
Yeah. No, I was 9.
You're the 9th. Okay. So you've got 8 staff. So what does that look like? What you're having to market yourself. You're having to get sales.
Yeah. The growth just happened naturally too. I wasn't really putting anything into marketing myself at all. It was just more so just the referral base still. So it's getting referrals and it was just coming in like a shotgun, right? At the time, I think everybody was busy at that time. So I think everybody grew. It wasn't just me. But at that time, like I knew like I had to maintain it. And that's when I started kind of putting ads out there.
And so can you recollect like what were the scales of project looking like at that time? And was it all residential?
I would say 10% commercial. And it was only 10% commercial because the clients I did a house for had a business and they want to do this to it, for instance.
Right.
It wasn't like I was looking for it.
Right.
But most of the time it was custom residential, high-end renovations. I did garden suites. There was a fad there for a while, and I was doing a lot of those, which were fun. Yeah, I like to change it up, so I didn't mind going from custom residential to a garden suite.
Right. And were you kind of pigeonholed to a certain area and a certain design? What did that look like? Were you willing to work?
Design is one big one that I get pigeonholed into. And it's just the craze with going modern, right? So you kind of get stuck in modern. And I I get bored. So I won't like your project after 3 years. I want something new, and I just see new trends or something like that. Then I'm like, I want to try that now.
Right.
So it's fun getting the different styles of architecture. But yeah, you kind of do get pigeonholed in the sense where, oh, I saw this on your Instagram. Can we do something like that? So I would say 75% of my work is modern, but I do like traditional.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're personally not tied to either.
No, design. And I think that's what makes a good designer, is being flexible and not having just one style of architecture. It's nice to have that open dialogue with someone, hear them out, what they like, and adapt to that.
And what do you feel was one of the root causes of your interest in multiple types of disciplines of architecture? Is it
ADHD?
Okay.
I just get bored.
Fair enough. I was going to suggest perhaps maybe it was something along the lines of when I was young, I was really into this type of architect, and I
can appreciate all senses of architecture. So
okay.
There are certain things I like about all varying design aesthetics with certain eras of architecture. Everybody gravitated towards modern. It became heavily a trend for a while.
Right.
But then you go back to the details of what was back in the 70s, what they were doing. It's amazing. The detail in there. So I like to take some of that now and put it into new projects.
Right.
Yeah. And go backwards a little bit.
And so do you have people that are requesting that, or you're drawing upon that inspiration, showing people, and they're saying, oh, wow.
Yeah.
I'm
luckily in a position now that it's just do whatever you want. Here's some inspo, obviously, but it's I don't want this necessarily. It's you have freedom now. Go crazy.
And with your practice, you're focused not only on architecture, but you're also looking at interiors. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Right.
So we opened that aspect of it in 2022.
Okay.
Yeah. It's been very recent of doing that. So I'm kind of learning that process too, which is a whole different ballgame. You would think it's kind of together, but it's a whole other beast.
What do you find is the major difference between the two?
With the architectural side, it's one and done. It's not. Interiors seem to drag out, and during the whole process of building, that's when we're figuring stuff out. So there's a lot of moving parts to that. Whereas the architecture standpoint is this is it, just build it.
Right. And do you feel documentation internally is different?
Yeah, there's a lot more going on with interiors. We're getting samples from every which way, right? Whereas architecture is I got 3 materials on the side of the house, and that's it. And that's my max too. I don't try to put more than that.
Right.
Just to keep it simple. Simplicity's key.
Right. And so when you were looking at developing the interior side of your practice, did you bring in an interior designer?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. I have 2 interior designers now. I did have 3, but trimmed the fat a little bit, and I have 2 now. And that's comfortable. I like the 2.
And how do you feel that resonates with the clientele? Do you feel your clientele were asking to be able to have a full service firm, or is it something that you just find is an easier?
It's definitely easier to acquire the clients when I'm first in line, basically. So it was an opportunity cost there too. So I took advantage of that. But also people don't even think that they needed an interior designer at the time. So they're expecting almost as architectural designers to do that aspect of the work. Which I'm no, it's usually just we do the space planning and all that, but we don't necessarily choose the finishes inside.
Right.
So we just kind of offered it at that point. Let's just try that. And then it just happened to work.
And what was happening prior to that? Were you essentially working on just getting an architectural set out, an IFC set to work with?
Yeah. And then refer an interior designer. Or if you don't have an interior designer, you're going to go through this process with the builder, which is usually a headache. And I forewarned them that.
Yeah.
But then typically the wives would be involved a little bit, choosing finishes. So I gave them that opportunity. And then at the end of the project, there's some projects I didn't even want to walk into and take a picture because it just didn't translate to what I was trying to do.
Right.
So I saw that opportunity too, to kind of take control of the whole package now.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what you referenced a little bit before.
Yeah. Going into
control.
Control. Ego? No.
Okay, you see your opportunities. I mean, I guess what you're kind of alluding to through all of this right now is that you've seen opportunities here and there, and you always had this dream and ambition of wanting to run your own practice. So you get to that point where you're able to do it, you figure it out, and then you establish you want to take over interiors. You start doing that. I mean, it seems like a pretty natural transition and fluidity of the business. Mm-hmm. And in terms of projects, like was there a number you felt you were ever running that was just too excessive? You didn't feel like you had control because you had too many projects in front of you?
Yeah.
Well, okay. What was that?
2021.
2021. Okay.
Yeah, we did 200 projects, and that was in part and parcel with wanting to acquire that volume because you're scared for the future. Like, I don't know what's going to happen during COVID. Let's take it all.
200 projects.
Yeah. It was insane. Like I was running with my head cut off. It was bad.
I would just contribute to that madness is that also you said 2021, you were building your home.
Oh, yes. Yes. Add that to the pot. Yeah. 100%. And we had I wouldn't say it was newborn, but 2 years old. I was
going to say, we haven't even got to we talked about before, and that was the young family. Yeah. So 200 projects, staff of 8. Yeah. Your business is a year and a half old.
Yeah.
And you're taking on or about to take on, you're realizing then that you need to take on interiors.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's add to this.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was 22. But at 22, that's when I decided, look, guys, we're not doing the smaller stuff now. They tend to become more of a headache for some reason. I don't know what it is.
Well, because they require the same amount of effort.
Yeah.
And but time.
I think, I don't want to sound rude or anything, but the less money involved, like that demographic, it's their life savings. Whereas someone has $4 million to blow in a cottage, it's like excess money.
Well, I would not. Would you use the word blow on a cottage? Perhaps not.
Invest wisely.
Yeah, I was going to say largely a lot of these are investments.
Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like when someone comes to me with an addition, they've been living in their house for 20 years. Right. I love to do those projects. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah.
The involvement is a little bit more hand-holding because they got to watch every penny that's being spent here.
Right.
You know,
they're far more cognizant of material selections and what the initial sunken costs are going to be of the project.
Yeah.
Right. Okay. So we're jumping, but we're,
yeah.
It's, I mean, it's really interesting to hear like such a drastic growth. I could not imagine. So you had a staff at that stage of 2021, you had a staff of 8 running 200 projects.
Yeah.
So,
and I designed every single one.
Were you sleeping?
No, still don't sleep. I think it goes in with the trade.
What was like, what's a night's sleep look like?
I go to bed at like 1 or 2 in the morning and then wake up at 7.
And then why are you going to bed so late?
That's the creativity.
Okay.
Like that's when juices are flowing. During the day, it's like putting out the fires, answering the phone calls. Like the phone doesn't stop during the day.
Right. This is all the builders or clients and everyone else asking for questions. Oh, right. Yeah. Yeah.
Like as an architectural architectural designer, you manage everybody.
Yeah.
Right. It's so odd that how we got pigeonholed into this role of managing everybody's projects without getting paid for it. Oh yeah, I'll get your HVAC. Oh, I'll get your survey. I'll get your lock rating. I'll get the structure. I'll talk to the builder every day. You know?
Are these things that they're not teaching you in school?
No, I know.
They're teaching how to design, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's interesting because among the many people I've spoken to about this, one of the things that I have found speaking to everybody is that you get you get a good amount of education on how to design, but where the education seems to lack is what it is to be an entrepreneur and a business owner, an operator.
Mm-hmm. Obviously that comes with every trade though. You don't know until you're in it and then you see the hurdles that you have to jump through as a business owner.
Right.
It is tricky because you are the head of the dragon essentially. And
right.
Everybody wants to go to the top.
Right.
You have a problem.
Right. Yeah. So, okay. I mean, and again, that makes complete sense. We do the same thing. So you have 8 people, you're working all day, answering phones, dealing with everything you've got to deal with during the day. You come home, you got to deal with your family. And then at what stage do you draw? So when are you drawing? What time?
Kids are in bed.
Okay.
So we put the kids to bed around 7:30 because they're young.
Yeah.
And then from there, I'm drawing all nights. I got one of these kind of standing desks, but they're at the couch.
Yeah.
So I get to watch TV while I'm doing it. So my wife feels like that I'm participating in a marriage a little bit. And then she goes to bed and then that's when I go crazy.
Okay. So you'll be up for the next 2 to 3, 4 hours.
Yeah, 4 hours, I would say, a long time. And I love it because it's uninterrupted.
Right.
And I think that's the problem with this business too. Is like you can't be creative and have the noise around you during the day and try to draw something phenomenal for your clients, right? You need that downtime to think because you're not thinking at that point. You're stopped to think about something else, come back to it, and it's a flow. Right?
Yeah. I'm absorbing that.
Yeah.
Well, it's a lot. I mean, when you think about that and you're dedicating, what time would you normally get into the office?
8:30 usually I try to aim for.
Right. So you're in 8:30 and you're leaving what time? 5:30?
Yeah, sometimes later though. Sometimes I have to stay to figure something out.
Right.
So that's like my biggest fault. It's like as a family man, like I sometimes miss stuff just because work is in the way.
Because you're running a business, right?
It happens with everybody. I feel like.
Yeah.
Who's running a business?
Yeah, it's
sacrifice.
It's challenging, right? It's very challenging, especially when you're young in the career and you want to be able to establish yourself and make the progress that you want for your business to be able to get to a point where hopefully you can only run, 15 projects, 20 projects a year.
Exactly.
And you can sustain the same level of operational income that you need.
Yeah.
Right?
To make it sustainable. 100%. Yeah. That's the goal for sure. Yeah.
So what does it look like since 2022? Now with the number of projects that are in front of you, what is that looking like?
We did 100 last year. In 2023, we did 121, I think it was.
And that
was manageable.
It was.
Sorry, 2022 was 120, and then last year was like 100.
And of those projects, we'll call it the average of 110,
mm-hmm.
How many of those were you involved in interiors and architecture?
It became... The first year was 25%, and then the second year, I'd say 50%.
Wow.
Yeah. And I would still say we're maintaining that 50%.
It's pretty substantial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Grew pretty quickly in that aspect with the interior side. And it's fun too. Like I get to be part of that process. It's not like my interior designers are just doing the interior designs. Like
right.
We're collaborating now.
And are you limited to a certain region, or are you able to work wherever you want?
We've had the opportunity to work everywhere. So I did one in Louisiana of all places.
Oh, really?
States. Yeah. Which is pretty cool. And we keep in touch with each other. And
when did that project wrap?
So he didn't end up building it. Like he's waiting.
Okay.
Because of everything that happened, what looks like a recession.
Yeah.
But we got the permits and everything. And it's beautiful down there because I got a permit in 2 days as opposed to Toronto or Barrie for 6 to 8 weeks minimum.
Yeah.
So we've been there, BC, designed in like Turks and Caicos. It's pretty cool that we get this opportunity to work pretty much anywhere.
Right. And are these people reaching out that live there, or these are people that live here that are reaching out to you about?
Everybody lived there and found me on Instagram.
Really?
Yeah.
So the Turks and Caicos project, is that?
That one was like a vacation style home.
Okay.
So yeah, someone did live here for that one.
And has that gone to construction?
Yeah, I believe so. And it's cool too because like at that point with Turks and Caicos, because it is such a different construction methodology there, it like I design it and then it's taken over by a structural engineer there.
Got it.
Yeah.
And you taken over by a structural engineer, but in terms of permitting, do you have to deal with someone there as well?
So it's pretty lax there in a sense. So the homeowner essentially acted for himself, got the permit.
Got it.
Yeah.
And what about in Louisiana? How did that work? Do you have to partner someone there?
Because he was kind of new to it. He had a builder. He hired me. And then I just went there. I flew down, met with the truss plant, got my trusses within 2 days again. Like I stayed there for a week budgeting, like I'll get all the coordination done and submit the permit and then come home and deal with that.
Yeah.
But I got that permit that week. Pretty wild.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that client's right now sitting with permit ready to start at any point.
His land. He bought a house temporarily just to wait for his construction to be done.
Yeah.
And he's doing some rentals. So that we helped do some interior for. So the project just didn't stop there, which was nice.
Right. And project in BC?
Yeah. That one, I flew there as well. That one was a little different just because, building codes are similar, but there's still some differences with BC code and here. So again, we went out there, met with the engineer, and then I designed it that week too. And they paid for that as well. Like I said, I had to charge to expedite this in a sense.
Yeah.
And they did, and then flew me there, and then flew me home, and then got their permit and worked away.
And so is that project active now, or
I think that one's done.
It's done?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think it was like mid-construction, like May, June. That was the last time we kind of talked to them.
Okay.
Yeah. And usually that's when the phone stops because they're inside now working away and finishing and all that.
Right.
Yeah.
And on that project, sorry, but yeah, were you doing interiors on that project
No,
as
that
well?
was
No, just architecture. Okay.
Yeah.
And whereabouts in BC was it?
It was in Victoria Island, and it was Souk. It's just township of Souk.
Yeah.
Yeah. Beautiful spot. Anywhere in BC is beautiful.
Yeah. I mean, as long as it's not raining.
Yeah. I'm okay with the rain, though. I love it.
Yeah. I mean, I guess, being able to go and see a place like that would be nice. Good flying out to Turks and Caicos and go see
Yeah. Go to Louisiana.
right? Louisiana. Yeah. Get some
crawfish.
I was going to say it was that and some chicken.
Yeah.
Okay. So, I mean, really,
So yeah, to answer your question, I'm not really limited to a region, and
then you're not bound to anything in that regard, which is pretty interesting because I mean, sometimes people do only want to work in certain regions because it goes back to be able to have control.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, that's true. But if someone's willing to fly you out, why say no?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. You guess you have to, but you've got to pick up all of the understandings of the codes in the region that those places are in. I know that in some places you also still have to potentially partner with a local architect to help you.
Yeah. I didn't have to in Louisiana.
Yeah.
They don't even need one. BC, the engineer could sign off.
Right.
So it worked out in those situations that I didn't really have to think about that. Actually, Newfoundland, I did have to do that.
Newfoundland.
Yeah. So I had to partner with someone there. Yeah. I did 2 projects there.
Okay.
Yeah.
And did you go out there?
Yeah. They flew me there too.
What'd you think of Newfie Screech?
I didn't get screeched in there. I was west side of, I forget the town. It's the only town on the west side. I can't think.
It's okay.
But my stepdad's from Newfoundland. But this year I did go to St. John's, did get screeched in, and that was fun.
I just have to tell a joke. I don't normally do it. I would never want to do it, but I have to because it's like the people from Newfoundland are the nicest people in the world. So this joke and it's really simple. How do you get a one-armed Newfie out of a tree? Wave.
That's a big wave.
Yeah, they're the nicest people in the world.
Oh man,
there is no one that this world has to offer that is nicer than a Newfoundlander.
100%. And everybody has a seat at their tables,
Yeah.
Pretty wild.
I remember I was there when I was really young, and we were coming off the highway, I was jaywalking as at a exit from the highway, and I didn't realize. I don't know why. I was young. I wasn't paying attention, but I didn't realize. And car was coming, and they came to a complete stop, and then waved at me as I was jaywalking in front of them. And I was like, well, that's different than Toronto.
Yeah, that wave.
This is another gesture I'd be getting in Toronto.
That's funny.
Well, so it's interesting. So, okay. So now we're in 2024. You're trying to, I assume, cut down from 100 projects to less than that.
Yeah. I think the sweet spot, I think, would be like 60 projects.
60 projects. And how many staff would you want to have for 60 projects if you could?
So right now I have 5 and then plus me. So we're at 6.
Okay.
And that's my comfort.
Yeah.
I don't want to get bigger than that. I don't think it's too much to manage at that point. And people always say that's how you grow. You got to kind of let go. I'm not that type of person. I always want to design. Why wouldn't you? That's the best part of the job.
Right.
So I wanted to pull back, make it less formal in the sense of the HR side of things and just have fun designing every day.
Right. I feel like you say it's design's the best part of the job. So the best part of the job is between 4 and 2. Between 10 and 2.
Yeah. It really when I'm by myself. Yeah.
And so I'm curious, let's understand what the zone looks like. You talked about it when you're at your house, but do you listen to music?
Yeah.
Are you online looking at other forms of inspiration from other practices? Are you what does that look like for you as you draw upon your inspiration?
I would say music. I love music so much. It's playing all day, every day. If I was in an architecture, I would do music of some sort, but I'm not musically talented. So
right.
I would suck,
Yeah.
but so I love listening to music, finding new music. That's what I do every day.
And do you find that? Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Just listen and draw. That's what I do.
And are you drawing upon certain genres of music to be able to get inspiration? Is there something that you go back to when you're kind of stuck?
Yeah, I'd say it's something without vocals most of the time.
Yeah.
There are songs that I do obviously with vocals, but it's distracting in the sense listening to lyrics and singing the lyrics as you're drawing. But I like the kind of the chill vibes, 60 beats per minute or less.
Okay. So, so you want to get to 60 projects. You're working 10 to 2 in the morning. The rest of the day is everybody else. And I'm curious, so running what seems like you're working, I just did the math on this. So you're working anywhere from about 14 to 16 hours, 17 hours a day.
Yeah.
Something around that.
Very unhealthy.
Well, so what are you doing? What do you do for yourself to be able to defrag and like disconnect? Do you go away with family? Do you travel?
Yeah, we travel a lot. I would say that's our biggest almost vice in a sense because it's financially crushing.
Yeah, but
yeah, we go away often. And that's the fortunate thing. You work that hard and then you can take a week off.
Right.
And leave it to your staff to kind of manage it for the time being. I still have my phone. I still bring my computer everywhere I go. So there are times that I do just have to handle something.
Yeah.
At least I'm sitting on a beach in Costa Rica,
Is that one of the go-to places?
Oh, yeah. I love Costa Rica. I went there for the first time last year and then we love it. We're going again in April. A friend of mine actually bought a villa before COVID and it was like very cheap. And then we took advantage of that and we were able to go whenever we wanted, right? For next to nothing.
I mean, that's pretty amazing. Where's it in Costa Rica?
It's in Tambor. So It's almost like a cottage country of Costa Rica. It's not close to any major city. You got to fly into like San Jose or Liberia and then fly from there to Tambor.
Okay.
Or you could ferry a drive. But
so is it which coast? Is it close? It's close.
It's Pacific side.
Okay.
Yeah. And you're in like a little alcove, so you're not so exposed to the Pacific. It's kind of on an inlet like in the middle of Costa Rica almost.
Okay.
Yeah. It's really nice. Beautiful spot. And I could pick up everything and live there. But we travel a lot. Like I like to see new things. So it's hard to commit to just one place and going there every year.
And do you have places on your list that you want to see? And I guess I'm in some ways curious. Like, are there architecturally significant cities that you have gone to and that you want to go to be able to kind of pick up some?
Oh yeah. Italy was on my bucket list and we did that in 2020.
Okay.
Before COVID again.
Yeah.
And then Japan is my next one. Like that's high on the list.
Yeah.
Something about Japanese architecture that's just phenomenal.
Yeah.
They hit it on the head with every style, from traditional to their new modern stuff that they have.
Yeah.
I think they're the most innovative and then we adopt those trends here.
That's an interesting perspective on that. Yeah.
And a weird dynamic on their housing situation too. Like they don't value houses the same way as we do. Like they actually depreciate. They don't appreciate if you actually look into it, which is crazy. So you build something like what we're doing here and they have a 25-year life cycle on them and then it's being torn down.
Huh.
Yeah.
I've never researched that to know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, I also know that, one of the coolest sidings that you can put on is Shoisugiban.
There you go.
Right?
Yeah.
The charred wood. And in the lifespan of that, it can be anywhere from 75 years and up, depending on how it's treated.
Yeah.
Which, in residential construction, if you have a client that's willing to go with Shoisugiban siding, you're in a pretty cool project.
Yeah, exactly. I've done it a couple times. Actually, we're doing one that I got to go visit on Tuesday.
Okay.
In Halliburton, a cottage, which is pretty fun.
Amazing. Okay, so Japan's next on the list. Yeah, and I guess you'll draw upon tons of inspiration. Have you booked that trip yet, or that's
no? That's kind of just like on the bucket list.
Right.
There's some stuff we are doing this year that I got to kind of take care of.
Yep.
A lot of people get married, so a lot of bachelor parties.
Fair enough. Yeah. Fair enough. All right. And anywhere else that you've been that you say to yourself as you're coming up on a project, like, yeah, you know what? I remember seeing that building. Have you had that experience when you're drawing?
Yeah, there are some innovative things that you kind of adopt. Like when I was in Italy, that's when I designed my house. And we were in a place that had the kitchen literally in the middle and like my two islands look to the dining room, look to the living room. Like it was the heart of the home. And that's where I adopted that and then expanded from that.
Interesting.
We designed the house in Italy, which is pretty cool.
While you were in that other kitchen?
Yeah. Yeah.
So on their island, you were designing your island.
Copying, yeah.
And so, and material wise, were there elements from the place you were staying at that you incorporated into yours?
Yeah, I would say more like the fixtures and style of the fixtures that they had, not so much the materials they had. It's very heavily like marble and stones. And I like the woods too.
Yeah.
So I kind of adopted like the Nordic look into that a little bit.
Right.
which is another place on the bucket list. Like going to any Nordic country like Sweden, Norway, or Finland.
Yeah.
They got some pretty cool architecture.
Yeah, it's incredible some of the stuff you see out of there. And I think largely a lot of the young firms in the city of Toronto, specifically, outside of the city as well, are drawing upon the inspiration of what's coming out of those Nordic regions.
100%.
Yeah.
I think every second word in architecture is Scandinavia.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Yeah.
But I mean, it's hard. It's really hard to not appreciate it, because it does when you experience that type of architecture and interior, you get a feeling, right? Mm-hmm. There's a wholesome feeling when you're looking at natural products inside of a home.
I was gonna say it's cozy.
Yeah,
there's something about that everybody's kind of just drawn to.
Yeah. Well, it's the feeling of bringing what you get in a natural environment indoors.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. That's why stuff in Italy, I do like it and I appreciate it, but there's not a lot of that kind of architecture where there's a lot of natural elements inside. And there are natural elements, but it's stone. I like the woods and the coziness of that.
Right.
Yeah.
And so let's talk about some of that. What kind of natural product so woods? You have Douglas fir.
Yeah.
What do you like working with? Hemlock.
Vertical grain hemlock is beautiful and it's consistent. That's why I love it so much. It's like you can get a different palette from somewhere else and it just seems to stay consistent. Whereas a lot of natural wood products, you can get a lift of something from somewhere else and looks like not even the same wood.
Right.
Yeah. And obviously cedar, like a nice clear cedar.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah, so your preference is clear if you can get it.
Yeah, clear.
When people are saying yes.
Yes, exactly. That's the thing. Cost appropriate stuff. But I do like the naughty stuff, but it has its place,
Yeah.
Like a rustic cottage. And I love that feeling too. There's nothing like a cottage that's about to fall down. There's something about it that I love more than any new cottage that we've done.
Interesting.
Yeah.
You prefer to walk into a place that's ready for a wrecking ball.
Yes, 100%. That feels like a cottage to me.
Yeah, I would have to say I've stayed in many of those. When you hear the person sneeze and it feels like there's no walls.
It shakes.
Yeah,
because it's on stilts. So.
Yeah. On the side of a cliff, 120 feet up from the lake below. Yeah, it feels great.
4x4s all under that.
I remember we were looking at a renovation of a project in Muskoka, and it was it was literally built up on the side of a cliff and it was on stilts, and the place structurally looked like it was ready to, if we walked into it, it looked like it was going to just, like a surfboard, just slide right off the cliff and straight in. And they did not move forward with the project. I was thinking, all right, I guess you're looking to collect your insurance check.
I love it though. That's my dream cottage, just to buy something and not touch it. And someone with just one owner, so they haven't touched it.
Right.
All old, creaking floor.
And with a lake view, or is this you're thinking like a bunkie in the middle of a forest?
I love the lake. Like, I like the exposure and having the ability to have the lake. I don't necessarily need the waterfront view. I love like a wooded view. It's just so cozy.
Yeah. And what you can't appreciate listening is that, on Justin's forearm is, a wooded area. It's a forest. It's wrapping around his forearm.
We match.
Yeah, we do. I have the same thing with my left forearm.
Half sleeve too.
Well, and I mean, I think it really relates to the importance of what the outdoors does for us in our general nature, right?
Yeah.
Being in nature, but what the experience of being able to walk outside and get that fresh air. It goes back to what we're talking about on the inside when you're bringing in those natural products from a forest and you can look at them on the inside. It really makes you feel in some ways like you're outside.
And it's a soul cleanser.
Yeah. Until you have to work between 10 and 2 and then you don't feel like you're cleansing your soul.
Yeah. But if I was in a wooded forest working from 10 to 2 with the fire on.
Right.
Beautiful. That's a dream.
Yeah. And an old rickety cottage on like a couple cinder blocks.
Yeah.
Waiting for the bottom to fall off the Flintstones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. The perspective's changed ever since I moved up north. Like I was a Toronto boy. Like I loved the city. But then moving up, like it changes. I still want this exposure to the city. And me and my wife talk about it that we want a condo in Toronto for our weekend getaways and then have our house in the middle of nowhere.
Right.
That's the daily. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if you get to a point where you're running 60 projects and you got 75 of those and those are interiors, then, that's pretty doable.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
Not too far off. Well, so we'll have another interview in another year or two and you'll say, yeah, you know what? Getting here today was a lot easier because I just stayed at the condo.
No, it still took me an hour because I'm on the east side and coming to the west side. Jeez.
All right. Well, so outside of travel and outside of the whole practice, what about some of the things like just for you? Like, what do you find are things that are able to get you completely zoned out from work?
It's hard. Like, it's a passion. So if I'm not working, I'm thinking about architecture.
Interesting.
So I'm always drawing. Like, if I'm not drawing for a client, I'm drawing for like our next house.
Okay.
It's it's a vice. Like this.
How many times have you built or renovated your own projects?
Yeah.
10 times yourself.
Yeah.
And have you hired people to run those projects or is it?
No, that goes with the control again.
Right.
So next one I would for sure, just to alleviate myself.
Right.
I can't handle everything, but it's nice being part of that process too. You have a fun job, like putting all that together. Like you make dreams come true. You just put it on paper.
It's different. I mean, right. It's different when you can make something that's drawn tangible. It's different. But part of what's so amazing about being able to build too is that you also can build the relationships with the people that are drawing it. Mm-hmm. You build relationships with the people that are structurally designing it.
Yeah.
The
trades.
The trades. Yeah. I mean, what's really amazing about this industry is the relationships.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
That you can foster. It's a very unique industry in that way. The relationships carry and transcend many, many things in this in construction.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love it. And I became friends with every trade that I worked with and became friends. So I get deals now. Like it's cool. And then being like, you know what? I'm going to help you out on your house. You give me so much work because since you've worked with me, you've given me 10 other jobs.
Right.
When they needed like a trim carpenter, that type of thing. So we'll take care of you on yours. So that's nice. And it goes vice versa. Like if they ever needed something, I'd help them draw it. Discounted rate,
right?
And the same with clients too. I become friends with every single client of mine. I almost feel bad at the end of the project. So I'm like, I have to bill you the last 10%. I hope you're okay with this.
Wow. So your Rolodex over the last 4 years has grown by about 350 to 400 friends.
Yes, exactly. I have friends that tell me I'm the busiest friend that they know because it's like every weekend we get invited to something and go out and have dinner. Like tonight I have dinners with my client.
That's nice.
Yeah.
In the city or?
Yeah. So I got to go back and then we're driving down together to Mississauga.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's okay.
Yeah.
It's 40, by the time you leave, it's like 40 minutes to drive back into the city.
Yeah.
I mean, leaving the city might not be 40 minutes.
It's a little different.
So, and have you planned your next project for yourself or you're currently going to enjoy this home for a little bit longer than
I want stability for the kids now,
so
it's a little different. But I'm impulsive, so if something did come up, it might not change in an instant. But if I did do that, I would try to stay within the same school district so that my kids can keep their friends.
Right.
Yeah. I don't want that on them, especially just to keep moving around, losing friends, then having to make new ones. At their expense to keep doing that, it's not worth it.
Right. And at this stage, with how the practice has been running, what the growth pattern has been, and the scales of projects, do you feel like you have stabilized the business?
No, I never feel stable.
Interesting. Why?
I think there's a fear in everybody's mind when they're at their own business that, oh, I got to do this and reinvent the wheel a little bit, market myself. So it's stable in the sense that we have like our processes,
right?
You know? But that can change in an instant too with new bylaws coming out and new building codes. So it does change in a sense. And we're not so formal as a practice. Like we're a little easier going, obviously. So like if someone asked me to do something quick, I'd drop everything, take care of that.
Okay. I guess one of the last few questions. So you're working now, up in Barrie for a number of years. Have you come to know all the zoning officers and the inspectors? And how have you found that that's been able to benefit the business?
Oh, 100%. I know they're not supposed to, but they refer me out to clients who come in and ask like building permit procedures. And they're like, oh yeah, I use this designer here. He's local. He knows us. So I got a good rapport with a lot of them.
Yeah.
And that's the nice thing about living in somewhere where there's less people. Obviously you come to know these people.
Yeah.
Like with Toronto, I deal with someone new, I think, on every project I do. I'm actually very surprised when I catch them a second time. I'm like, oh, yeah, here we go. Can you just help me out here? I have a cell phone number now. Give them a call. But yeah, inspectors up there seem to change frequently, but the examiners are pretty
Steady.
stable. Yeah.
Right. And that's across all the different townships and cities.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like an old boys club too. So
Right.
they've been there for 30 years type thing. So you just kind of develop that relationship first. That's the hardest part, but then maintaining is easy.
Yeah.
I love that aspect of living up north. Like it's a phone call away instead of like an email, then wait to hear back 2 weeks later. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I guess I'd like to close with just a few questions here. What is the greatest ambition you've got for the practice in terms of project? Is there a specific type of project in a specific location that you've been dreaming of being able to design, or is...
It's come pretty recent. Like my dream was always to have clients respect the trade and the creativity we have and say, you know what? I don't have any kind of wish list here. Like just go crazy. So we've had opportunities like 3 times in the last year. Just say like, here's our budget, obviously, and just create whatever you think. It's pretty cool.
And do you hit the budget?
Most projects don't. Not on our end. Like obviously we design accordingly, but
here's the budget. Show me something that I can't afford.
Yeah. I forewarned them. This window package is going to be $300,000, just FYI.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're like, okay, we'll compromise on that. That looks awesome.
Right.
I think in the first draft of design, I always aim higher because I don't want to be told this is the budget and I create something within their budget and be like, oh, that's not what I wanted. So aim high first and then kind of work backwards from there and let them make the decision with you on what we're taking out.
And are you making the decisions for what the cost of the project is based on their budget as you design with a builder? Or are you doing it that just from your basic knowledge of having done this a few times?
Basic knowledge for the most part, but then there are, like, I love it when a builder's involved from the design stage.
Right.
Because then we can all have that conversation reduced from there. And I think it goes along with like what I'm talking about, like aim high and then work your way down. I think goes with the builder to be like, hey, this is going to be X dollars, like you're way out, but let's compromise on a few things.
Right.
It's nice to do that together right at the beginning.
Got it. Justin, it's been like really enlightening. I really appreciate the time you've taken to go over all of this. I mean, getting to know each other, but getting to know you, the practice, getting to understand a little bit more about how the operation runs, types of projects. Knowing that you've done stuff kind of throughout North America and beyond is pretty cool. I had no idea.
Thanks, man.
I really
appreciate you inviting me.
Yeah, of course. Hopefully in the future we'll have you back on and we can talk about some other growth patterns that have happened with the business as it continues to expand.
Definitely.
Appreciate it. Thanks, Justin.
Yeah, thank you.